This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Authoru U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, as we plow into the holiday season, which is we're certainly here, we thought, and I went back to one of my very favorite people to bring back to you, all the gadgets and the gizmos, all the little goodies that you can use to make your life easier, and also a whole array of items that are out there that will tie in with your, whether it's e-marketing, whether it's newsletters, whether it's your blogging, whether it's shopping carts, because people question shopping carts. How much do I have to pay? I came across, actually, there's some freebies now, free shopping carts popping up. So there's a variety of things out here that you need to know to run this thing called a publishing business. So with me is going to be Kelly Johnson. Kelly is my favorite geek girl. She is known as Cornerstone Virtual Assistants, or the cornerstoneva.com, as we all get tracked down here. And she's all about offering clients a creative option to build a collaborative, long-term professional relationship, not only with virtual assistants, but with anybody that you have to deal with and work with globally. And in this world today, that is what so many of us are doing. Her certifications include a professional author's assistant, online shopping cart maintenance, as well as one of my pals in crime in the management of all this, and we both love Hootsuite quite a bit. So with that, let me bring Kelly on. Hi, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Judith, and thank you so much for that very kind introduction. And as always, I love that I get the title Resident Geek Girl, and of course, being your partner in crime.
Partners in crime are always very good.
That's right. Those are valuable tools we're talking about here.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. So let's just really kind of jump into it, because sometimes authors don't know which is the horse and which is the cart. And where do you start in this whole array of how do I start selling my book? I mean, should I just count on my local bookstore, which I'm going to tell you not. Do you go on Amazon or exclusively, or do you open up and broaden into Kobo and Barnes & Noble and iBook and all the other I-related platforms? Or do you do just exclusively off your website? The bottom line is people have to pay for this stuff. So if you do it yourself, you're going to have to figure out how it gets paid for. So why don't we start there, Kelly?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, and I like what you also mentioned at the beginning of the show about now, especially because we're in the holiday season, I know a lot of the authors that I'm working with, they're wanting to look at options of, with my book or the products that I'm selling related to my book or programs, how can I have some holiday offers, and how can I help promote that, and how do I get that information out there, and what are the best tools to be able to do that? So as you were sharing, when we're looking at those options, we want to think about that email marketing service and also some of those online carts. So a great place, I think, to start is either if you already have a website, maybe if you haven't reviewed your website in a while or you're getting a new website set up, let's initially look at how are you collecting names and emails? Are you even doing that on your website? And if you are not, you want to start looking at some of those email marketing services, and we'll talk about some of those in particular, things such as MailChimp, AWebetr, or how you can use some of the online shopping carts like CloudNet 360 or One Shopping Cart to help go ahead and start collecting names and emails, because you want to start having your own subscribers in your own list and build that audience right there and be able to have that.
Mm-hmm. And maybe some tips and tricks, Kelly, also on how you get people to sign up, because here is, I certainly have seen it on my own sites, and really I think I'm part of that contributing factor, because what happens in the old days, that was last year, in the old days, people had to sign up for your feed, either as a subscriber to your blog or newsletter or whatever you're doing, so that they would know it's coming. And it's not something that you blasted out to everyone saying, hey, 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 it's here again. Today, that's exactly what we do. And we go up and we post, okay, so I've got a new blog on blah, 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 blah. And so we've actually enabled them that they don't have to sign up, which is not a good thing for us, because then we don't have their emails.
Right, and actually, too, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because there's actually two parts to that I wanted to share on this call today. Is what some of my clients do is, depending on, once again, what service they're using, that could be AWebetr, it could be Constant Contact, it could be, Premium Web Cart, whatever those services are, you can choose to have that be one of the ways that you actually reach out to your subscriber list. Instead of just your newsletter, you can go ahead when people, if you have that opt-in box on your site, you can say sign up to receive my newsletter and, announcements or tips. And one of those areas could be that you're just sending out a broadcast message about your latest blog post. So it would just be a little teaser of what is that blog post about, with the image that you've included with your blog post. And in that broadcast message, have the, click here to read more, so that they're going over to your blog to read it, and they can post their comments and feedback, right there on your blog. So that's one way that you can share updates. And once again, have it tied into, as you were saying, Judith, we don't necessarily want to ignore, and not collect names and emails from people. So that's one way you can still have people subscribe for free. It just takes a minute or two to do that, and they still get those updates on blog posts. And the other service that I really like that I've set up for some clients is, whether you use MailChimp or not for your main email marketing service to send out your newsletter or announcements, MailChimp, actually, they have a free version of an account you can sign up for, up to 2,000 subscribers. But in that account, they actually have a feature called RSS-driven campaign, where you can go ahead and set that campaign up, and you put your news feed in there for your blog, so that you have a custom template you can create, so your branding is still there. And because you're tying your blog feed into that, every time you have a new blog post, anyone who's signed up for that that campaign, the RSS-driven campaign, you go ahead and it will automatically send that blog notice to them. So you can actually set that up automatically and still collect their name and email that way too.
Which is, and does AWebetr have the same kind of thing?
I believe AWebetr has something similar to it, where you can do exactly like the RSS-driven type of campaign, to have it be more automatic, that people get those blog notices.
So the tip is, no matter where you use, what you want to do is have an RSS-driven campaign. So some form of automatic is in play.
Yes, of course, we all love anything that can be automatic, where we can do that, set it and forget it. So that's always a benefit. But if for some reason I wanted to mention, like I did in the first example, where if you don't maybe initially have a service that offers like the RSS-driven campaign, or that's something you need to set up in the near future, then just remember that when you're sending out notifications, those broadcast emails to your list, you can also include a notice about your latest blog post, and have a link for them to click to read the blog post in full on your site.
Which would be a good thing. Always a good thing.
Absolutely.
So, when you said set it and forget it, I thought, oh my God, it's infomercial time.
I know. Take it, said infomercial. I didn't mean to sound too infomercial, but just that automatic idea.
I mean, that really is the kit. All right, so what's imperative for all our listeners is to make sure that they have set up some kind of vehicle that they can gather and hopefully multiply.
Absolutely.
And go out and keep it communication, and that within these programs, and then we did mention Constant Contact. To me, Constant Contact's kind of dated, and I don't know, at least that's the last time I looked at it. Have you got any feedback on that?
I still have a fair amount of clients that use Constant Contact, but one of the items I wanted to mention about their service in particular is they do have good customer service, which is always great when we're looking to sign up for a service that we're using. We want to be able to have good customer support for questions. But one thing to be aware of with Constant Contact is when you're wanting to send out, because we'll talk a little bit more in just a minute about autoresponders and having automatic messages sent. So when somebody puts in, for example, their name and email and clicks submit, you want them to get like an automatic message that either thanks them for signing up or welcomes them to your list. With Constant Contact, unfortunately, the last time I was looking at their service, you can only have one autoresponder set up, and it's pretty much tied to all your lists, so you're pretty limited in that regard. Whereas some of the other services like AWebetr and One Shopping Cart, you can actually set up a series of autoresponder messages. So in addition to that first just welcome message, this is another great way for you to touch base and follow up with people. So maybe after they get that initial welcome message, like 2 days later, you could have another message that says, oh, just wanted to touch base. Have you had a chance to look at this or review that? And just wanted to give you this extra tip. So it's a nice way that, once again, you can automatically be keeping in touch with the subscribers that you have. So just one of the limitations to be aware of with Constant Contact and their autoresponder feature.
Well, see, so that would make me check off the list.
Right,
so,
exactly.
I would bypass, because I think it's very important for all of us to realize that you're going to be communicating not in just a vanilla way. There will be different ways that you need to react or respond, especially as you bring on, whether you have a book, you may want to have a responder if someone just buys your book. Exactly. Or you could have someone who you want a different response for if they sign up for your blog. Yes. Or your newsletter, or, that's where you have to start thinking. And certainly they may have 80% of the words could be the same, but there's just a phrase in there that personalizes it and customizes it for the message. So be tuned into that. That's that's a strong tip you need to grasp, I think, early on.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like, Kelly, all these different profiles that we have. We have all these different social media platforms, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or fill in the blank. All of them have a little unique twist to them.
Yes.
And also have a unique amount of characters you can use. They're not all the same. So you're forced to customize. And this is what we're talking about. You do the same thing for your autoresponders and messages.
Absolutely.
On your website. All right, we're going to be right back. We're talking all about how to run this, how to do it, what you can do in customizing, personalizing, reaching out, and marketing to your readers and buyers. This is Judith Briles. Kelly Johnson's my guest.
Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Many of us have dreamed of writing a book.
Some of us even have.
Then the hard work starts.
You'll need an editor.
Who will design the cover or typeset the pages?
Who will format the ebook?
If you're a business owner, consultant, or coach with a serious message and expertise to share, the team of experts at 1106 Design can guide you through the maze.
They've helped more than 1,000 authors create top-quality books and avoid the not-so-reputable self-publishing companies.
Learn more at 1106design.com.
Then call Michelle at 602-866-3226. 1106 Design.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U, and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Reaching out from the heartland of the United States with quality programming, this is TogiNet Radio.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Oh, we're talking e-marketing. We're talking e-newsletters. We're talking how to make the monetization of those more efficient. And we're talking about collecting. How do you collect these emails and respond to them? So Kelly Johnson's my guest. She is the owner of Cornerstone Virtual Assistants, and you can find that at cornerstoneva.com. And one of the things is that we are talking about companies like AWebetr, MailChimp, Constant Contact, and as you look at those are those the big three, Kelly?
It's not necessarily known as the big three, but they are some of the most common that people will use. One other one that people may be also familiar with is Vertical Response.
Okay, and actually I'm not familiar with Vertical Response, how they work. So in the author publishing world, it's usually I hear about Constant Contact, MailChimp, and the AWebetr. So what are the differences? What's the commonality? What are the differences?
Some of the differences, if we're looking at MailChimp, Constant Contact, and AWebetr, some of the things that they have in common would be those are services that you can go ahead and set up as many lists as you want. And when I say set up a list, that would be, for example, one of your lists could be people who have purchased your book. Another could be subscribers to your newsletter. So you can set up as many of those lists as you want. And in MailChimp and AWebetr, you can go ahead and set up some several autoresponder messages. In MailChimp, the autoresponder feature is actually a paid version, whereas in AWebetr that's included. But in Constant Contact, as I just mentioned when we were talking about it earlier, they only allow you to have one autoresponder message that you can set up and send to all your lists. So it's a bit limiting in that regard. But a couple of things that are great about those is that I just wanted to mention. The important thing about having a service that you're using to send out emails to your list, whether you have a small list that you're starting out with or you're growing your list to, several thousand people, you really want to use an email marketing service like what we're talking about, MailChimp or AWebetr, Constant Contact, because some people will ask me, well, even though I have this list of contacts just in my my inbox and my email service on my computer, can't I just send emails to people from there? And I always tell people no, because whoever your internet service provider is, if you send too many emails that are exactly the same, they tend to go, wait a minute, this looks like a spammer, and they will ding you and you'll get blacklisted, and that will hurt you on your email just in your inbox and what you're using on your computer. So that's one of the most important factors of why you want to have a service to send broadcast emails.
Okay, so you just really brought up something really important, because I think I shared with you that I had sent out. We just had our author's tea. For those of you listening, this is live in December. Last month we did an author's tea where we had over 90 people attend, and they came to hear authors talking about their books that I had worked with, and then they pitched them. They got a 90-second pitch, and a lot of books were sold. That one of the things in communicating, even with these people who I normally communicate with as clients, that all of a sudden things were getting bounced back. And GoDaddy, which is one of my button pushers, but GoDaddy had decided, because I was sending the same email in a blank group email to everybody, therefore it was spam. It was spam. We were spamming them. So how do you protect yourself as the initiator, communicator, from being blacklisted?
Well, in the case, as you mentioned, unfortunately, sometimes it's a particular company. Like you said, unfortunately, GoDaddy was ringing that on there. But what I would suggest is, if you feel like there is an email that you do want to send, from your computer, from your own inbox, try to just do, and I know this is going to take a longer process, but try to just do a few at a time, like maybe somewhere between 5 to 10, no more than that, and then wait for a bit, and then maybe send a few more if you feel like that's the best method. As you were saying, Judith, maybe for the author T, there was just something enough that you wanted to personalize in each one, but it had the same subject line and the majority of the same content in the email message. That could be the method to help you try not to get blacklisted then, just on your computer in your inbox. But otherwise, as we were saying, that's one of the great things about having the email marketing service and being able to send those broadcast messages, because that's what those services are designed to do. When it goes through there, it's not affecting your own inbox and your email, so that you won't get blacklisted in that regard.
Mm-hmm. And, let me add this on for our listeners, too, that I learned from a social media guru just this last week, that if you are a Gmail user, they also have some little triggers that will do some blocking. And if you have in your signature standard that goes out with any email, if you have a bunch of live links, and I think a lot of us do have, the link that shows to our websites live. It could be to our Twitter feed live. It could be for Facebook. You just never know. And also, if you include any images, it could be your personal photo. It could be, and I will tell you, my block is that I have my personal, I do have several live links, but I also have my personal photo, and I think about 7 pictures, like my very first book cover to the latest book cover, and a few other images in between. And what I did is I had actually pieced them all together in the signature block, and then it goes out automatically. Well, Gmail, Google, ranks those, will give you a really a black ranking,
right.
And that's not a black belt. This is like a red belt, because there's too much live, it's too much live, and they consider that you're more prone to be spamming, to have that kind of attachment. So how I got around it is I just went to my handy dandy Snagit app, and I took a picture of all those pictures that were all separately, but I hooked up together, and took a picture, and then I went in and dropped that as 1 instead of 8 separate images, and you reduce their robot scam, so to speak. So that's the kind of thing you have to think about for all of you in how you're broadcasting, because as these vehicles are out here, whether it's the Google Mail, whether it's the what I call the dreaded GoDaddy vehicle, that any of the others, that surely there's going to probably be more robotic blocks, because there is so much spam out there. And even that, for me, I was sending to people who I normally communicate with, and I did some of them one at a time, and it was still getting blocked.
Right.
So,
and that's that's an excellent workaround, and as you know, Snagit is one of my favorite tools to use too. And related to that, since we're talking about spam and trying to help, make sure that these email messages are getting through, that's another great feature that is available in a lot of these email marketing services. that we've been talking about, like AWebetr and Constant Contact, where when you are going ahead and setting up the message that you want to send out to a particular list or several lists that you have in that email marketing account service you're using, they actually, many of them will have at the bottom before you send it out like a spam word rating, and it'll go ahead and tell you, oh, you have, like, you're falling within an acceptable range that, you know, you might have a few words here and there that the robots, you know, might pick up as spam, but it's nothing major, so it should be okay. Or it will tell you if your broadcast message is getting a high rating for spam, that you need to actually go back in and say, you know, they'll tell you, here's some words you need to change because chances are these are considered too much of spam type words and it will not get through. So that's another great feature to be able to have in these services that they offer. Absolutely.
That's a killer feature, actually.
That's right.
Maybe not a killer feature, it's a living feature.
That's right.
as you put those together. All right, so we have that. And we've got a couple of minutes before our next break. So let's talk about as we move along here, we've got these, you know, these multiple, you mentioned vertical response, constant content. What's the cost? What does it cost? You mentioned, I think, MailChimp, it allows 2,000 and it's up to 2,000 emails and it's free. Is that
yes,
correct?
That's correct. So that's another reason why a lot of people do like to use MailChimp, especially when they're first starting out, because it's a very cost-effective method. Constant Contact, they do have a free trial period for 30 days, but one thing to be aware of in that free trial period is that you can test it out and test the features, but you can only send it to up to 100 people. So if you're thinking that you can, in the trial period, send it to, you know, more than 100 or had that in mind, just be aware of that. And their service for, I believe last time I looked in Constant Contact, for 1 to 500 subscribers, it's about $15 a month for their service. And then AWebetr, once again, they also have a free, or not a free trial period, I believe it's for $1 for the first month that you can try out their service. And then after that, once again, depending on how many subscribers you have, I think it starts at about $20 a month for their service. When you start looking at more of the online shopping cart services, such as things like CloudNet 360 or One Shopping Cart, in those services, you have the ability to send out broadcast email messages. So when you look at their monthly cost for some of the packages, for example, if you get more of like a basic package in One Shopping Cart, you're going to see probably along the lines of, like right now they're running a special on like $34 a month, but normally that's going to be $60 a month because it's allowing you to also sell products.
Okay, Kelly, so we're going to come back and talk about more money. This is Authoru U, your guide to book publishing, and it's all about e-services today.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing, Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
The TogiNet Radio Network, broadcasting quality programming to the world.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Okay, we're talking pricing with some of these e-vehicles, and Kelly and I are off the air. We're looking at AWebetr and MailChimp and Constant Contact and Vertical Response. And it's always a challenge to me when it's difficult to find the information you're trying to seek. Then some of these sites are not as intuitive, I think, as they should be. I know that what Kelly said is that for beginners, MailChimp often works well because up to 2,000 subscribers, basically you're free. If you go to 2001, then the cash register starts to add up. And I know that in comparison with AWebetr and Constant at the 5,000 email mark, it's roughly $55 a month.
Yeah.
For those amounts. They're very, very similar. Constant Contact, Kelly, do we know what that is?
That was the up to 500 subscribers. That was the $15 a month.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, and like you said, that was a very good estimate that you gave of, with the 5,000 plus what you're getting into for that, rough estimate of, monthly fee.
Yeah. So they'll stay in the same area, but you've got to look at their services and what they do. And one of the services that's really important is for anyone who engages someone, because you're going to run into problems at times, is you want to make sure that they have really superb customer service. And this is when I would just Google the name of a company and customer service, complaints or problems or, ripoff or whatever adjective you want to use. And then you read it and you pay attention. Pay attention.
That's right.
So,
and some of the nice things, like, for example, AWebetr, they have some weekend service hours that you can actually, call them and talk to a live human being on a weekend. So if that ends up being the best time for you to maybe get a question answered or something fixed, it's nice to know that some of these services you can have some weekend options. And others to be aware of, too, with, like, the free with MailChimp, unfortunately, there's not a number you can call to get support. You would have to email. So as you were pointing out, right, Judith, that's something that you really need to research and look at.
Yeah, and that's it. And I ran into a lot of problems with that. So I wanted one of my choices in doing the switch is I needed a live body to talk to once in a while. So Kelly, let's do a switch gears here, because let's say things are going well, and you're building your email list, and people are doing it, and some are interested in buying your book, but you figured out some other ways to monetize things. And it could be selling memberships. Maybe you split up your book into a bunch of mini books. Maybe you have got a white paper. I mean, who knows what you have put together in all of this? But you've got it, and you're off and running. And now, how are we going to process it if people want to buy it? So, what do we do now?
Absolutely, and that's a great question because that is something you do need to take into consideration when you're looking at these services. So, for example, with what we've been talking about, MailChimp, AWebetr, and Constant Contact, those are just literally services where you can set up, your list and send out broadcast messages and have some of those autoresponder messages going to people after, but you can't directly sell, a product. You can't set up an online order form and take payments through those services. So that's where you would need to transition and look more into some of these, online shopping carts like CloudNet 360, InfusionSoft, One Shopping Cart, and you need to have some of those abilities where it gives you more of those features that you could actually not only send email broadcast messages through them, but you can set up, online order forms, as you were saying, Judith, either for your book or several books or products related to your books. And then once you have that piece, you have one more component, which is a great point that you brought up that you also need to make sure you have available is just because you have the online order form, you also need then a way that you can have the credit card payments processed. So once again, a lot of people will tend to have PayPal as an option in there because a lot of people have PayPal accounts and like to have payments go through there. Or you'll need to have a separate merchant account. One of the more common ones that people will use would be like Authorize.net because you actually need to have a service that will process the credit card payment itself.
So why don't you describe, though, the difference, because that's where a lot of people don't understand, that there's actually two components to this.
Sure. So a little bit of what we were saying, when we're talking about an online shopping cart, that's going to be the service that you can actually log into that account, and let's say that you have like your print book that you want to have for sale, and let's say that you also have like a teleseminar series that you offer online, and you have that as a product for sale. So just taking those two examples, if you were to log into your online shopping cart service, let's say, for example, you've signed up with One Shopping Cart, you would actually go in and set both of those up as their own product in the cart. And what the cart does is it actually would give you can have your VA or your web designer go in and get the coding, what's called HTML coding, where you can actually put a button on your site for people to say, like, add to cart, because the One Shopping Cart will automatically generate that for you when you set up each of those products. And you can put that on your website so when they click on that add to cart button, say for your teleseminar series, when they click on that, it will bring up that online order form that you've created and set up in your One Shopping Cart account so people can put in, their name, their address, their phone number, their email, go ahead and make those selections. And then at the bottom of that online order form, it'll show that they can either choose to pay by credit card, or if you also have PayPal as an option for people to pay, then they'll click submit, and it will take them to that next step of where they'll actually input their credit card information or go through their PayPal account. So that second step that Judith was just referring to is that part to actually process your credit card payment through a merchant account service like Authorize.net or PayPal. Those don't automatically come with the shopping cart services, like with One Shopping Cart or, CloudNet 360. That's a separate process you do need to set up and then actually tie it together with your shopping cart service. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, that's so much technical information, and that sounds like something I probably don't even want to have to worry about dealing with. And that's why, once again, we love this teamwork, because if you feel the technology of just trying to set all that up or figure it out, that's what I love about being a virtual assistant, or if you have your web designers, we know how to do that, so we can take that piece, set it up for you, and make it a more seamless transition. But just be aware that those are all the pieces that you will need to make it work.
Oh, yeah, because my attitude is I just want it to work.
That's right, exactly.
I mean, I have enough information that I'm dangerous, but but to set up the coding and those magic buttons that look really good and
absolutely
and all that, I let the Kellys of the world handle that, and I suspect most of you probably would want to do that too. All right, so with that, you've mentioned CloudNet 360, and we should tell our listeners that you will also find CloudNet out there as premium web cart. They're going through a branding right now, rebranding, because they're becoming so global. And I think what's interesting, and we'll do a show exclusively on what's going on in the CloudNet field, because they've got some interesting areas. Yes. And that I think it's important to recognize that they the premium web cart, which I used to be on one shopping cart, and I felt it was getting dated and not moving along and looking for other things. Kelly just mentioned email and some of the email services that are coming off it. And I would suspect that what's going to happen with generations with these shopping carts, they are going to become so sophisticated that they will be taking over all your email feeds as well. Strong probability. Whether they will have the templates in play that are of caliber with whether it's MailChimp or AWebetr or Constant Contact or Vertical Response, those four that we have been talking about, I don't know, but I think it's coming. I think there's a wave brewing now.
Absolutely, and the way technology is constantly evolving, I'm sure that will be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think so too. So you always do want to pay attention, and that's why it would make sense for that our listeners to really subscribe. Go on and subscribe to the Premium Web Cart, aka CloudNet 360s, which I see moving along fairly aggressive in what they're doing. Is that I would subscribe to their blog, so yes. You will be in the know of this stuff as it becomes available.
That's right.
All right. So you also, maybe we don't even want to start on this one. We've got a couple of minutes to our next break and final break, but there's something called InfusionSoft out here.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I have called it ConfusionSoft for a long time.
It's funny you said that. I heard a gentleman who was a representative of InfusionSoft speak at a conference, and that's exactly what he said. You might know us better as ConfusionSoft. So you're not the only person to use that term.
Oh, good. Well, let's describe what InfusionSoft is.
InfusionSoft is one of those more full cart services like One Shopping Cart or CloudNet 360, where it's not just email marketing. It's also you can set up your products. You can go ahead and set up autoresponder messages. You can even have an affiliate program through them. But my personal experience with InfusionSoft, because I do have a few clients that use it, it's not an user-friendly system. It does have a pretty big learning curve, and unfortunately, my experience with their support staff has been that they are not always very helpful, and when you try to ask some questions to them, I've had them say to me more than once, well, I don't know why that does that. And I'm thinking, this is your company that you're representing to help with. So it's also very expensive. It pretty much starts at $300 a month. So it is a pretty big investment of financial money as well. So it's definitely something to look into. It does have a few great features, but I haven't had a lot of people be overly happy with their service.
Well, one of the things to bring about with InfusionSoft is that it is highly sophisticated. I think we'll both agree it's highly sophisticated. The second thing is, though, and that's why they give like a full week training program so you can come and learn it.
Yes.
Which is what most of us are not going to do, nor do we want to do. We want something that is intuitive and we can figure it out. And I know that there are some cases where people have said they have had to hire. Well, I'll finish that comment. We're going to come back after our last break with Kelly Johnson. You're listening to Author U, your guide to book publishing. And we're talking how to get your word out electronically through your website.
Book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
This is the TogiNet Radio Network. Radio with a cutting edge.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Okay, with me this hour has been Kelly Johnson of Cornerstone Virtual Assistants. And you can find Kelly at kjohnson@cornerstoneva.com. And she's my favorite geek girl resident. And we have a lot of fun because we actually teach a tech toolbox together. Yep. For authors in the AuthoruU.org community. And we're talking about all E. And I should say, if you are listening and in the Colorado area at all, January 3rd, we have a fabulous, fabulous program on e-marketing and e-strategy and e-book promotion and publicity and all the e-related things on January 3rd. So information is up on the AuthoruU.org website. Just click on events. And a lot's there. Second up, that if you're thinking about going to the extravaganza, which you all should be listening to and planning on attending, that's May 7th through 9th. The early bird registration ends this month, and that's December. So if you want to save $50 on registration and actually get the free deep dive dinner workshop, which you'd have to pay $55 for if you were a member, so like $105, you want to get registered pronto and take advantage of that. Okay. And then last but not least, the Draft a Dream book competition is open, and take advantage and enter. So all that information on AuthoruU.org. Just go to the events tab on the website. Okay, Kelly, we are talking, we're doing a bunch of tips. And looking at so we mentioned, you and I've said, did we talk about opting in, double, single, blah, blah, blah. And we actually hadn't gone that. So let's describe what those are and why they do it and how can, is it a good thing, a bad thing, or what kind of thing is it?
That's right. And just to help clarify that thing and what exactly it is, when you're signing up with these email marketing services, you'll see that they'll have usually what they'll call either a single opt-in or a double opt-in option. The single opt-in, what that means is when you have the opt-in box on your website, and let's say you're just asking for name and email, for example, and then they can hit the submit button. What that means with single opt-in is if they put their name and email in, hit the submit, and then once again, you can just send them like a confirmation, email that says welcome, but they're not required to take a second step in that case and confirm saying, yes, I did, go ahead and just put in that I want to subscribe to this list. So single opt-in does not make them do the extra step of confirming that they've signed up for a list. And the double opt-in then is just the opposite of that, where once they put in their name and email in that opt-in box on your site and hit submit, they are going to get an email notification that says, click this this link to confirm that you have decided you want to opt into this list. So that's what the double opt-in means. And one of the great advantages of doing the double opt-in, if you have that set up for your list when people need to subscribe, is let's say down the road, if you decide, just for example purposes, let's say that you were using one shopping cart, but you've decided now you want to switch to AWebetr. If you had everything, your list set up to be double opt-in, you can contact AWebetr to say, is there a way that when I take my current list from one shopping cart, if I export those subscribers from there and I want to import that into AWebetr as my new service, since I had them as a double opt-in, does that mean that my subscribers will not have to opt in again now that I'm switching services? Basically, you'll just import all those names in, and they won't have to click anything else to confirm again that they want to be on your list. So not all services, but some will allow you to not make your subscribers opt in again if you decide to move services, if you have a double opt-in.
Yeah, which can be irritating. Yeah. The other thing is, though, so if they just subscribe on your list, and let me see if I got this right, the way you're saying it. If you offer a blog or whatever, and they say, oh, yeah, subscribe me, and they do it on your website, and they fill in their email, and voila, they're subscribed. But if they have to go back to their own email and confirm that this is indeed what they want to do, that would be the double.
You've got it right. That's exactly right.
Perfect. All right. So it's important to understand that. So if they subscribe from your site alone and nothing else happens, that's a single. Yeah. And if they have to reconfirm through their own email, click a live link, and then your autoresponder will say, "Congratulations, you are subscribed."
Exactly. And with that double opt-in, as we mentioned, they have to confirm first, and once they confirm, then they will get what Judith had just mentioned, that like if you have a welcome autoresponder message, welcome to the list or thank you for subscribing, they will not get that autoresponder message until they confirm if you have it set up as a double opt-in.
Right, and then you go into that. Now, there's one of the things in a meeting that you might want to, this gets a little bit more sophisticated, but that once they confirm and going on, you might want to come back and chat with those people or something, and you could have another email go out to them and re-welcome them to it and say, oh, my golly, my gee, I have a special, whether it's an ebook, a report, a PDF, fill in the blank, and it's only $10. And it's going to guarantee, that your book will sell at least 4 copies. I mean, it's, something, I'm being silly. But no, that's a great point, because once again, these are all the components that we, wanted to discuss as part of this today, because it's something to think about and other ways that you can either keep building your list or help, promoting and getting your information and products out there. Mm-hmm. And Kelly, if you were to look back with your years of working with authors, if you were to identify 2 or 3 ways that have been consistent strategies for the many authors or people of products that have sold to increase their list and sales, does anything pop off the top of your head?
I think one of the great things is when, especially when authors are first starting out, it's great that they have their book, but then they're trying to think, well, what are other ways I can maybe tie some products or programs in? And one of the things that has been very successful for some of the authors that I've helped them set up, as we were talking about, when you have that feature of autoresponder messages that you can set up, don't think of the autoresponders only for once they subscribe to a list, then they're going to get a message or maybe a series of messages, which, of course, you want to have, and it's a great touch point to have with all your subscribers. But think about setting up like an e-course, whether it be free or something that people pay for. And because with the e-course, that's one of those too where you can have people, for example, let's say it's a free like 6-series e-course on like the 6 best tips to book publishing. You can set up where they put in their name and email, hit submit, they subscribe to that list, and you can have those autoresponder messages then where one is sent each week for 6 weeks, and they have the lesson or the tip outlined in there where, once again, you can have all your content, have that be another way that people get to learn about you. It's another program you can create related to your book or services that you offer. And it's just, once again, another touch point. It's another great product you can create, and authors have had some great success with that.
All right, so, and you want to always think about what you can do here to keep it going, keep it moving. And, you know, here's a suggestion I would make. Once you bring on a group, you might want to create a series of rolling webinars. Or it could be just a teleseminar and go to, you know, free conference call or one of the other free services that all they have to do is the caller pays for the phone line. You don't have to.
Exactly.
And that you could do whether a little coaching in your expertise, or you could be doing, you know, a webinar about something, or maybe a hot area within your book. But that could be just kind of, you know, once a month for all the people who come along. And do a freebie. And then at the end of it, you can do an upsell. I mean, just an idea. Idea.
And actually, just another quick tip I wanted to share to help either save some time if you're importing a list into one of these email marketing services, or if you're creating your opt-in box and you have that like name and email field. One thing I wanted to just help save some time for people is, let's say, for example, you're importing your list. I said, as I mentioned, say you're going from one shopping cart to AWebetr. When you export your list from one shopping cart, look at that, you know, the spreadsheet. Normally it will be exported typically as like either an Excel spreadsheet or maybe a CSV, which is comma-separated values file, but it looks like a spreadsheet. Make sure that before you import it in, have what I've found to be very helpful is not to just have the name column where it's in one column it's first name, last name. Have one column of first name and a second column of last name, because where that can really help you is to have that nice personal touch. You've probably gotten emails that say like, dear, you know, and your first name, or hi and your first name. If you have those first and last name columns separated, when you import that in, it makes it easier in that email marketing service. So, for example, in AWebetr, you can actually just take a little piece of what they call a merge code that says, like, you type hi and then put first name, so it'll automatically pull that person's first name in, whereas if you have both first and last name in the same field, it would say, like, hi, Kelly Johnson, rather than just hi, Kelly. So that can help save you some time. I hope be a helpful tip to think about that when you're importing or setting up your list.
That's a great idea. And here's the other thing I would add to that is make sure you use upper and lowercase.
Yes.
Because if it does come across lowercase, they know that it's robotic. Okay, so let's do that just a little bit better on that.
Oh, and one quick tip, too, is let's say, I know some people, you should make it a required field, at least name and email, but let's say for some reason if you did not make name a required field, and some people may not put in their first name, and from their email address you may not be able to determine what their first name is, you could maybe even just go through where it shows a blank for the first name. So if you know that your primary audience deals with authors, you might even just want to put in, like, dear author, you know, and just have something like that, at least to make it more of a touch point or something a little more personal if they have not included a first name.
So I guess here what I'm going to add, Kelly, if you're already on a service of some sort, it would be a good idea to make it, and you can make it a requirement that they have to put in their first name, can't you?
Absolutely.
Right. So I would suggest you do that. You know, even if you haven't had in the past, you go back and get that baby plugged in to do that. Right. So
make it required.
You know, let's play catch up here and here forward, and you can take advantage of that. So all those are imperative in this area. All right, Kelly Johnson, thank you for being with me. We're out of time.
Oh, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. This is Judith Briles.